for your benefit and the benefit of the delegation. Well, dear delegates of the European Investment Bank, first of all, Madam Vice President, very happy to have you here. Dear representatives of the Ministry, I could see Mr. Kakouris over there. Dear Mr. Chairman of the Council, dear Vice Director, dear colleagues, dear students, it is a pleasure to welcome once again at the University of Cyprus members of the leadership of the European Investment Bank, and especially the Vice President, Ms. Lilyana Pavlova. And we are very happy that they will have the opportunity to witness firsthand the importance of infrastructure for the development of a higher education institution and for performing high-edge research, which not only benefits the community, the researchers, the staff, and the students, but also the society in general. The confidence that the European Investment Bank has shown in the University of Cyprus in challenging times, such as the economic crisis, when the latest investment was announced in 2014, as well as now in the midst of a pandemic, perhaps at the beginning of a very serious war, you never know, is essential for the uninterrupted development of the institution. The trust, no doubt, positively impacts the country as well, as the developmental plan of the university is linked with Cyprus's goal for sustainability, as well as social and environmental responsibility. Showcasing once again the magnitude of the bank's contribution, I would like to remind you that the investment reaching the amount of 162 million euros, which is fully supported by the Cyprus government, is crucial for the completion of the following projects: the Apollon photovoltaic park, which is under construction in the demilitarized zone that the Vice President had the opportunity to maybe witness from the very distance; the facilities of the Faculty of Engineering; the third complex of teaching facilities; the medical school; the energy center; the building upgrade of the Shakolas Educational Center for Clinical Medicine; the reinforcement against earthquakes of the temporary campus of the University of Cyprus at the old Παιδαγωγική Academy; the buildings of the Department of Biological Sciences. I am looking forward to the discussion with the students that the Vice President will have, as it will empower them to realize the opportunities that await. Moreover, the example of Mrs. Pavlova, as a young, now I'm speaking to the students, as a young, dynamic, and ambitious leader, proves that the glass ceiling is breaking and everyone can dare to dream accordingly. So take one example. Thank you so much, Mrs. Vice President, for being here. We are very glad to have you, and we're looking forward to a very strong collaboration with you, and I'm sure that you have a lot to say with the students.
Thank you very much, dear Rector, dear Vice Rectors, dear Chairperson of the Council of the University of Cyprus, dear colleagues, dear students. Thank you for the warm welcome. First of all, thank you very much for the warm welcome. We really feel at home, I should say, here. I'm really glad that the main, let's say, the most important part of my first visit in person to Cyprus, since I took the oversight as Vice President of the European Investment Bank for Cyprus and the countries in the region, is happening only now because the pandemic didn't allow us to come earlier, but at the same time, I'm glad that we have the opportunity to spend some time here in the university campus, because I strongly believe that the investments done so far, more than 160 million investment in support of the development of the campus is one of the, I should say, not only flagship projects for the bank, but I believe this is also a very, very important investment in social infrastructure, educational infrastructure for the whole country. Extremely important one, because as I said, investment in education is investment in our future, and I'm really, really glad to be here and visiting not only the amazing library you have, the amazing facilities which are existing, also seeing the construction of the Faculty of Engineering was extremely interesting for me. This brings me back in years when I was, before joining the bank, I was for 2 mandates member of the government of Bulgaria, Ministry of Regional Development and Infrastructure. So visiting projects on the side during their construction and engaging with promoters is something which I really like, which I really miss, because then you see the passion of the promoters of having best class and first class investments, which we can see and which we can witness today. So once again, I'm really, really happy and thankful to all of you. Earlier today, I was also visiting the city and the municipality of Nicosia, because apart from the project and apart from the university, which I said this is our flagship project, I believe, we also provided the municipality of Nicosia some 40 million financing for the urban development, urban regeneration, Alferia Square, and the supporting and the surrounding areas, which were, some parts of which were designed by the famous architect Zaha Hadid. So another interesting places and the sites we have been visiting today. Of course, I should say that I'm really grateful to Mr. Kyriakos Kakouris, whom you know, Ministry of Finance, our board member, the person who knows the bank very well, and thanks to him, I should say, most of the projects happening in Cyprus for so many years. He's one of the drivers in Cyprus to have this number of excellent projects which the bank has been financing for many years. Because I should say in the past 20 years, we have been providing more than €500 million of investments in educational infrastructure, both in higher education and also in secondary schools, which is an excellent example of how EIB and EU money are really channeled to expanding schools and providing high quality facilities for the students. I should say that the investments done so far, like the one we discussed here, are always very well prepared. Okay, sometimes we face some difficulties, some delays in the implementation, but like everything in life, it's not so easy to implement project in a difficult environment. Financial crisis, and when really the country was suffering from the severe financial crisis, I believe that was the period when the bank was most proactive, providing the necessary support. Like always, the bank stands behind you, providing support, providing financing whenever it is needed. So as we have discussed earlier today with the rector, we are glad that apart from the discussions which we will be also having tomorrow with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Finance on the projects or the new project, the future project which the bank will finance, one of the new projects in the pipeline is indeed the investments in the accommodation and residence building of the students' residence here at the university, which I understand is a very high priority investment because there is a demand, there is a need, and the bank will be happy to contribute and to support these important investments. Maybe I should, by saying all the time the bank, if you allow me just to spend a few minutes for the students especially, I believe, I hope there is an interest just in few words to present the bank, because European Investment Bank is a very special and very unique bank, and at the same time European institution. This is what makes us special and unique, because the bank was founded in 1958 with the Treaty of Rome as a European financial institution, and our owners are the member states. The 27, as of today, 27 member states, including Cyprus, are our owners. Represented by the governors in the face of the ministers of finance, who are our governors, and then we have second layer, our board of directors, representatives of ministries of finance of the 27 countries, and then we have the management committee, which I am representing here today, consisting of president and 7 vice presidents, rotating from different constituencies of countries. So I should say that EIB is your bank. You are one of our shareholders. Another important and another different thing about the bank, we are providing, of course, loans. We are not the European Commission providing grants, providing loans, but we are, in order to provide the loans, we are not managing the European taxpayers' money, but we earn our money on the capital markets. This is how we are providing our funding, and of course through bonds and through specifically since 2007 also green bonds, because the European Investment Bank was the first ever issuer of green bonds back in 2007. What we do provide is long-term financing, long-term lending, and the tenors of our lending, which we are providing, are much longer than normally commercial banks are providing. Our tenors could be 20 or even 30 years with huge grace periods, because we are a public institution providing support to governments, providing public financing and lending, and also supporting private sector operations and lending in 2 ways. Either we finance large projects directly, or we provide so-called intermediated lending through our intermediaries, financial intermediaries, mainly national promotional banks, national promotional institutions, or commercial banks, through which we channel our financing to startups, small and medium enterprises, and in order to reach out to our partners, or directly, like through the government, to universities and public authorities as well. Another thing about which makes our bank very interesting and special is that apart from the lending and also blending, as we call it, which means European grant funding combined with EIB financing, so we provide this blending investment, but the third element of our support is providing technical assistance and advisory. We have special teams and units which are in charge of technical and advisory support. What is special about it is that we have in-house more than 500 engineers, environmental experts, technical experts, financial experts, social in all different spheres, who are providing also technical and advisory support to our promoters, to our clients, to governments in building capacity, in preparing projects, in making or converting projects into bankable financial proposals, monitoring and observing and preserving, I should say, that each of the projects we are financing complies with the highest financial, economic, environmental, and social criteria. So we usually say that once a project is approved by EIB as part of, I should say, sometimes very demanding due diligence process, then the project is then given a stamp of excellence, which normally attracts then private financiers, other financial institutions to co-finance a project once it was really been approved from not an easy, I should say, procedure of to fulfill all the requirements of the bank. As I said, established almost 65 years ago, 64 years ago, in fact, as an institution, we are the largest multilateral financial institution, which is not always so, let's say, so not well known normally, because even we are larger than the World Bank, we are shareholders of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and indeed, we are indeed the largest institution in the world. The annual financing we are providing varies between 60 and in record years like last year to 90 billion euro per year, which makes us indeed the largest multilateral financial institution in the world. We provide financing to primarily, of course, to European Union member states, our shareholders, some almost 90% of our lending, but also we do provide and we do operate and provide financing to more than 100 countries around the globe. So approximately between 8 and 10 billion per year from our investments on the top of what we provide inside EU is provided in support in developing countries, for the pre-accession countries like Western Balkans, and also countries from the Eastern neighborhood and other regions around the globe, Latin America, Asia as well. So we are a large financier. 50% of our lending is now dedicated to climate, because now we are also not only the EU bank, but we are the EU climate bank. So 50% of our lending is channeled primarily to projects supporting climate adaptation, climate change, environmental protection, and almost the other half, 45%, is our lending provided for cohesion and convergence. Because initially the bank was established indeed with the raison d'etre, as we say, in the DNA of the bank is providing financing for cohesion and convergence. So these two transversal priorities, as we call them, go hand in hand. They reinforce each other, because providing development and providing support for less developed regions, for less developed countries, or for underdeveloped sectors like infrastructure, for example, is in the key of what we do. Apart from this, of course, we do support private sector innovation, startups, and promoting and supporting the business development, because SMEs are the backbone of the European economy. So our financing through the intermediated lending is going in support of the small and medium companies and the private sector in Europe and beyond. We have a special subsidiary as part of the EIB group, as we call it, European Investment Fund, which was established almost 30 years ago now, which we call our riskier financing lending arm. Through our fund, we are providing support and financing for riskier projects for the private sector for many years. And something new about the bank, which I already mentioned, our outside of EU lending is now also becomes one of the main goals and challenges to strengthen our outside of EU financing and presence. And that is why, as of this year, we have created our new branch. We call it EIB Global. EIB Global is our specialized team to enhance our financing outside the EU in support of pre-accession countries in the region, in support of neighboring countries, but as well as providing support for developing regions like Africa and others. What we are planning to do is to increase our local presence by creating special regional hubs in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, in order to be able to be more on the ground and to provide more tailor-made support to the different countries based on their specificities. I think I think I should stop here. Maybe at the end, I already mentioned that we are going to discuss the different projects and different operations, and I will be glad to see and to materialize in my next visit to be on the occasion that we launch the construction of the students' residence, which is really extremely important. So I'll stop here to provide opportunity for questions and to have this more as a dialogue with you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice President. Before I give the floor to the chairperson of the Council of the University, Mr. Christopidis, another Christopidis, we are nominated. Let me introduce to you the Dean of the School of Economics and Finance, Professor Klididis. And obviously, I think he will have some things to say when the discussion takes place later on with the students. But first of all, let me give the floor to the Vice Chairman, the Chairman of the Council of the University.
Thank you. On behalf of the Council of the University, I'd like to welcome you to Cyprus and the University. I have been tempted hearing your story about how you're helping the economies, and from my personal experience, which goes a few years further back than your experience, I feel I must point out that the European Investment Bank, directly and through EBRD, has stood to the side of the Cyprus economy back in after the disaster of 1974 and the invasion, through investment, through funding of projects, and through advice, have done a lot to help us in restarting our economy. Now, as far as the university is concerned, the master plan of the university has been designed and agreed a few decades ago. The current funding, we're hoping to complete it by 2026, I think is the plan, which we started in 2014. I think now all the projects are underway except the energy project, which will soon be put into place. And it was a pleasure to hear that the government, the university, and EIB have already started discussing the further development of the master plan. And we are really looking forward for future cooperation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, now the floor is open. I don't know, maybe Sophroni, would you like to say something before we begin with the students?
I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome you and thank you for being here. People have mentioned this already, but the EIB has been a big supporter of the university, and our buildings across the Belvedere here were financed by the EIB, and at a time when following the pandemic there's renewed interest in state supported infrastructure, and the governments take a more direct role in building infrastructure, health infrastructure, educational infrastructure. We hope that this cooperation will continue with the EIB, because it's very important, especially for small countries with relatively limited financing opportunities.
I think now the floor is open, and I would be more than happy to hear the students and listen to what they have to say. Anyone? Any questions to the Vice President of the EIB, or any thoughts, or
any complaints?
Any complaints? If you want to complain, this is your chance, okay? Go ahead, yes.
Initially,
take off the mask so I can hear you better.
Initially, it's an honor to be attending today such a huge event. I would like to welcome all of you, Mrs. Pavlova, the committee. I would like to make a question regarding the unfolding of unfortunate events and consequences regarding the war of Russian invasion to Ukraine. Of course, there are many negative consequences, and one of them are also climate disasters. Would you consider in providing investment strategies to prevent the environment from any further damages?
I respond until the other questions we collect. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for joining us for the tour also of the campus, which was interesting and windy. I understand it's only 1 or 2 days per year we have such a weather here, and we were lucky enough to have it today. But maybe it's also, once again, opportunity to come sooner back to visit the country. Now, seriously, going back to this extremely important question you raised about the Russian invasion, unprovoked invasion to a sovereign country, I should say on behalf of the European Investment Bank that we are expressing our full support and solidarity to people of Ukraine, to the government of Ukraine, and even tomorrow, we are going to have an extraordinary meeting of our board to discuss our proposal to provide special emergency support to the people of Ukraine at the amount of 2 billion, which is the envisaged financial package of support, which we want to deploy. Hopefully tomorrow, after the discussion of the board, we will be able to announce more details about it. In order to provide immediate liquidity support for the government of Ukraine, and at the same time, we have to make sure that we are also helping, in a way, the neighboring countries who are hosting an increasing number of refugees coming from Ukraine. So this is the other part of the discussions which we are having. Of course, we are not policymakers. We are following the decisions of the European Council, of the European Commission, as policymakers on what will be the common European response, like it was done for the COVID pandemic and for the crisis now. In this emergency situation, we will follow, we will support, we will provide the co-financing along and apart from the EU funds, which are to be channeled, and we are really open to discuss all different financial and resources which are needed, including technical support and advisory support for the government of Ukraine, and also for those of need on how to organize, how to prepare certain activities. This is the other element of the support we are providing. As a result of all these measures, of course, as you rightly pointed out, there are different consequences for the economies, for the different sectors, for the supply of materials and foods, etc. But also there will be potentially consequences to the environment. So our specialists, as I said, we have in-house specialists, environmental specialists, economic and other, will make sure that we analyze completely and we have a comprehensive analysis of the different aspects in order for us to be able to address the different consequences which are inevitable, unfortunately. It was in the context of the question about the climate. It was in the question of the war, I understood, not only, or it's about more general about the climate.
It was specific for the war, but of course I also saw the projects that you invested quite an amount for environmental issues as well. So
yes, indeed. Speaking on environment, as I mentioned, as a EU Climate Bank, we do invest more than 50% of our lending in environmental and in climate-related projects, because we do support very much the European Green Deal and the target of by 2050 to Europe, the European continent, to become the climate neutral, which is quite a challenging exercise, especially given the latest circumstances. And we are making sure that everything we do is compliant with the European Green Deal and the European taxonomy, of course. Maybe worth saying something I didn't mention in my presentation, that as of January this year, as Climate Bank, we have all our operations which are financing are fully aligned with the principles and with the rules of the Paris Agreement. And we have been phasing out from fossil fuel-related investments, and we very strictly follow, as part of our due diligence process, that the operations, the new projects which we are financing, are fully aligned with the taxonomy, with the Paris Agreement, and with the principles of climate neutrality as part of the path.
Okay, next.
So, shall I remove it? Yeah. So it is a great honor to have you here with us and discuss about social and economic issues, first of all. So it is a great honor. And adding to the previous question, and following the consequences of COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Western countries are struggling with constantly increasing fuel prices. And about this topic, some analysts view the fossil fuel crisis as an opportunity to accelerate the transition to renewable energy and strengthen the climate change resolution, whereas some others argue that the inflation and the energy security uncertainty will disrupt the fight against climate change. So I will kindly ask for your opinion regarding this topic and how European Investment Bank will react to these changes on fuel prices. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very, very good question, facing the realities of today, and not only. Every crisis is also an opportunity to act and to react. And before the war in Ukraine, we were also discussing that, and in full commitment, that recovery from COVID-19 pandemic and all investments which were channeled for the recovery as part of the global EU response, of which the bank was an important player. We have provided almost 60 billion euro, 58 billion euro in support of the countries, regions, and businesses throughout the 2 years of the pandemic, but also as part of the recovery and resilience facility, the different instruments, just transition instruments, and also as part of what we by ourselves as a EU climate bank have envisaged is to mobilize 1 trillion euro of investments by the decade of 2030 to provide special targeted financing in supporting countries in energy diversification, energy independence, and transition from to green technologies, transition from fossil fuel related and dependence to more energy efficiency, renewable energy, and other sources, green sources of energy supply, which will be a challenging, as you say. But at the same time, we believe that even with the new crisis and with the war we experience, this should not be underestimated, and even more efforts, more than ever, efforts are needed, and we are ready to provide and to play our role in this, in providing the necessary financing, is to help countries to invest in diversification of the energy resources, in introduction of energy efficiency measures, like energy efficiency of enterprises, energy efficiency in buildings, public and commercial buildings and private buildings as well, but also photovoltaic plants and site, renewable energy facilities, storage facilities, which is another important element. Like for the specificities of Cyprus, is solar energy. Of course, is having the great potential to be developed. We are just coming from the meeting with the minister of energy and her team discussing the different projects which are under construction, like the LNG terminal, which is under construction with our co-financing Vasilikos plant, the CODAP also facility. So we are playing our role also in Cyprus in financing different projects in the energy sector, which are extremely important for the independence of supplies of the country, especially with facing the increasing prices. This is an important investment for us, and we are here to play and to provide the necessary support. And also we are providing additional support to the ministry and to our partners with some special technical assistance and technical advisory project in order to make sure that all facilities which are under construction at the moment and also existing ones are all also the security, let's say the security of all the different facilities is considered in a way that government is implementing temporary and long-term measures to provide security of the installed facilities which are built.
Thank you very much.
Okay, who is next? Our male student population is silent. Okay, let's go. As I said earlier, our majority of students are female, so I mean that's why you have this representation. We have only 2 male students in a total, say 8 or whatever. So this represents the precise percentage of our students here.
Hey, hello. I would like to thank you for the opportunity, for giving us the opportunity to speak our minds. This is something that I wouldn't expect a person like you to allow. And secondly, I would like to welcome you to Cyprus. I hope the weather gets better for your stay. And what I was going to ask is, what kind of measures or actions does the European Investment Bank take to mitigate or minimize the uncertainty that business faces, uncertainty that has to do with the taxation and regulation of greenhouse gases emissions? And I would like to hear your plans, or what does the European Investment Bank is going to do about this?
Okay, very good question. What I should say, first of all, yes, that we are providing through our intermediaries, Hellenic Bank and other banks in the country, support for small and medium-sized companies, not only for their development, and like during the crisis it was for liquidity, for sustaining their liquidity needs, but apart from crisis is also for their further modernization and development. But speaking on environmental regulations and environmental requirements, this is, as I said, important element of what we do, and 50% of each facility, of each financing we are providing and channeling to smaller businesses should have 50% climate-related component, which means investments in supporting transition of the companies. And when I say transition, it's of course on one side is green transition, but also the other important elements, because this is also our economic teams and analysis which we do on an annual basis show that there is a need for digitalization of companies, the digitalization of the businesses to encounter the developments. So definitely part of the financing we are providing is minimum 50% is related to support this green transition of private sector. If colleagues who are with me want to complement, of course, feel free to complement.
Well, maybe because you said about the uncertainty. Uncertainty in the financial world equals higher risk and less availability of funding. So actually what we are doing, we are actually currently in the process together with the Commission to put together a program, InvestEU, where actually we will be enabled to extend loans also in risk categories that would be normally not available to us. So we get a guarantee from the Commission to do more in the higher risk categories. So that would be our our basically means of helping companies that are facing higher uncertainty and higher costs because of their potential climate change risks.
Okay, any more questions? Any comments from the students, first of all, or? Yes, please, go ahead.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to be here and to participate in this discussion. And my question goes back to the war that's happening right now in Ukraine. And because of the war, Russia is facing a lot of sanctions from Europe and from all over the world in general. And Cyprus is really highly reliant on Russia, Russian investors, Russian tourists, and so on. So my question is there any way that the European Investment Bank can support Cyprus that will definitely be affected by the fact that there won't be so many Russian investors and generally Russians involved with Cypriot economy? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. Definitely, like also other countries, but specifically Cyprus, you will be definitely impacted by the sanctions and having maybe less tourists coming this season. And less investors. Unfortunately, tomorrow we will be having our meetings and our meeting with the Minister of Finance and with the government to discuss what are the immediate needs and priorities of the government and how we can support the government in order to overcome the situation and to discuss what are the planned measures if the government is, of course, already having idea of what kind of support would be needed and how the bank can contribute for the next couple of maybe of months, maybe a year, in the period when the tourism sector has to be supported, and to see how the sector could be open to new destination, new tourists. Let's see what the demand will be, and being a demand-driven institution, we will be trying to address the needs.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, either from the students or the other people here, colleagues, and if not, Ella. Vasos is the head of our, technical services.
Okay, I would also like to welcome you as the director of the Campus Development Office. I would like to ensure you that the bank's money go directly to our society through our high-quality buildings, educational buildings, and the procedures we are always using for the completion of all these projects. We do have an excellent collaboration with your team. We are doing our best to proceed with the existing loan, and we do have a lot of projects going, towards our long plan. Apart from the student residence, we do have an interesting project which has to do with our theoretical faculties. It's our last academic building. And we do have a lot of other projects on head regarding the Cultural Center, the Innovation Center, the next phases of the student residences. So we are here to enrich our collaboration with you in order to complete this social area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are looking forward to see these projects, to discuss this project. As I already confirmed and mentioned, definitely the student residences is already on our radar, and we are already in discussion about financing the residency. So we are, of course, looking forward to see what are your project ideas for the Innovation Center, for the Cultural Center, and the other faculties which we are discussing. We will be happy to see how we can support this.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Sofroni, go ahead.
Going back to the, let me take this. Going back to the energy transition issue, the European Union recently labeled natural gas and nuclear as transition fuels. And this, of course, was quite controversial, and that was before the war. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about how things might develop in that front.
Thank you. Well, as you said, the European taxonomy is under discussion. It's a rather controversial one, so we are not yet sure what the final result of the taxonomy will be. Hopefully in the autumn this year it should be finally adopted if a compromise solution or a consensus is there on the acceptance of the natural gas and nuclear. As I mentioned, we as a climate bank already since 2019, we have changed our energy lending policy where we clearly outlined that as of 2021, there will be our last year when we are financing natural gas, fossil fuel related investments. So for the moment, we are fully in compliance and stick with this agreement. This is our policy as it is. However, at the end of this year is the period since 2019 it was approved to have so-called midterm review of our policy to analyze what was achieved so far, what are the consequences of our investments, but also to take into consideration the new taxonomy once it is adopted, and only after that we might reconsider taking into account or not investments in nuclear or in natural gas. What I could say about nuclear, maybe we are already also now as part of our eligibilities, we do provide financial support for nuclear plants, but only not for construction of new ones, but for investing in security, in providing the necessary security adaptations, security measures for existing nuclear plants. So this is part of our eligibility, and this is something we are financing and we will continue financing. Speaking on new nuclear plants, this is a very difficult, very controversial topic, so our board should finally have a say and a decision by the end of this year whether this could be possible or we will remain with the eligibility of supporting more security-related investments in the nuclear plants. Now, with respect to gas, this is the same approach we will be applying. For the moment, we are refraining from doing this until the final decision is taken. And what we are trying to promote more, as I already said, is more renewable energy investments and investments related to energy efficiency.
Okay, well, if there are no more questions or comments, I think what we need right now is a glass of wine.
Okay.
But before we do that, allow me to give you a present so you can remember your visit here to the University of Cyprus. It's just a small engraving by a Cypriot artist. So you can put it in your desk, in your office.
May I open?
Sure, yeah.
What it is? Yeah.
Thank you all for coming, for participating in this meeting. We would like to thank once more the Vice President for being here, for this honor to visit the University of Cyprus and give us the opportunity to discuss with her and express our views and talk about our campus and see with her own eyes that the money of EIB are, very wisely invested. And therefore, I hope that the support of the EIB will continue to be very consistent and very continuous to the University of Cyprus.
Once again, thank you very much for your warm hospitality. It was really a pleasure, and indeed, we can see we were providing you are well spent, and hopefully we will, for the